Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Yeah, thank you for joining us today. I'm Halima Aliyu, the business coordinator and strategist at MC Dream Concept Limited. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the fourth edition of African Real Estate and Business Insight. Thank you once again for honoring my invitation to participate in this forum. I'm very much excited to, I'm very much excited to have an excellent lineup of experts who will share their practical insight in order to move the sector forward. So without wasting much time, I'm just going to, the question is, what are the biggest barrier to unlocking capital and partnership for housing and infrastructure today?
Really has presented most of what we experience here as a barrier. So these are not unique to Nigeria, being that we all in the same West African regions. But for Sierra Leone, maybe I want to highlight two aspects that has been a very popular and the most prominent barriers to investment um, in real estate landscape in Sierra Leone. For example, the limited access to finances. We've currently experiencing one of the biggest investment in the real estate affordable houses, the South Africa Development, which plan to develop about 5,000 affordable homes in Freetown. But unfortunately, because of the aspect of inclusion, financial inclusions, and the middle manpower levels, the access to capitals, that has been greatest constraint. Then the access to capital has been constrained by two key components. One, the middle income, which form part of the greatest population in Sierra Leone, like the youth population, 25 to 45, they are not financially inclusive. So then they do most of trade jobs. They are not doing kind of employability that give them access to financing, that give them access to collateral. So this has been the greatest challenge. So mortgage banks that set up to finance most of these housing purchases find very difficult to verify the credibility of the middle income, which form part of the greatest target customers for those housing developments. So if they cannot verify the credibility of the target audience, then definitely their risk will be high in terms of giving loans, and the recovery of those loans, like Professor said, will be very difficult. So we have these low inclusions, financial inclusions percentage for Sierra Leone. And I think from the last report shows that only 25% of the women's are financially inclusive, and 29% for male between age 25 to 45. Then the second aspect is about weak legal and regulatory framework. Confirming the title deeds of lands, which is normally general across West Africa, so it's very difficult. So there are instances where two or three people owns document for particular lands, and verifying the bona fide owner of those properties will be very difficult. So from the first aspect of verifying the credibility of the owner is about verifying the land which they put out for financing as well. So I have witnessed a situation where one of the developers like Reggie Manuel Gray, they wanted to finance, develop 3,000 uh, housing in free terms. Then there are parts during the developments, some family members claim that these property belongs to them. So there was a fracas between the individual family members as well as the government proving who owns the property. And those property was leased to government through public-private partnership. to regime manual grid. So it will be very difficult at the end of the day. That development house was put on hold and up to now. So instead of 3,000, they were only able to develop about few 800 properties, which are still 65 to 75% complete and they were abandoned. So looking at these two factors, which have actually been
Okay.
the major impediment to
How about Prosper?
accessing finance. So you realize that other financial
No.
institutions do not. Okay, okay. So other risks include limited private-public partnership to because of the risk, the two risks that are involved. You see, appetite from developers is fading away. So we have only currently one development, private sector, public-private partnership development. The entire country is ongoing. So other developers who have once entered the property, they are all exited with field projects. And part of my thesis that I wrote, I documented about 7 projects that we have started between 2005 to 2020, 2005 to 2025. We are 2020, 2004 to 2000 to 2020. We are all like a failed project because of one reason or the other. And the key reason we are these two factors: lack of access to financing and weak regulatory framework. The third aspect was because of the this so the ask from the government when there is a public partnership project, uh, they do not meet the requirement of the developers, so they stop coming. So we have abandoned projects all over the country that even the local investors, local developers, they start, but because of this weak private sector partnership, because one government will go into contract with the developer, and when the government change, so the another government bring in a new policy, yeah, that destroyed changes something. So yeah, these are the from our end, the three most important reasons why there's the barriers for um, capitals is building up and is keeping wider and greater. Hello?
Now, my second question is, since we already have these challenges, we know what our challenges, what can we do differently to attract more investors and build better collaborations? With all these challenges we're currently facing, what can we actually do differently to attract investors?
Hello, Mahalima, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so before I really wanted to nail down these points. So I was saying the kind of financing structure that we have, those that are building houses, if you can find and can pay for the developers uh, charge for houses. I think we need to look at something differently. Africa way of financing mortgage houses or former developers houses. So if you looking at the kind of investment that goes into annual investment that goes into constructions, these incremental constructions, yearly is very huge. So we still need to look at how can we tap into this sector. Probably the, the informal developers, uh, the individuals that are building houses, they are stocking their money. Someone will be building a house for 5 years, 8 years, 10 years. So we need financing in order to in these sectors. How can we speed up the financing of the abandoned constructions in the city? How can we find the line, the financing structure that actually finance this structure in order to have an economy where we don't have a lot of money stocked in ongoing construction that lasts for 5, 10 years. So we really need to look at this in more broader meeting. So my own solution is we need to look at refining our banking structure different from the what we have in the West. So the bank should actually look at how they can finance informal sector in order to build houses differently. From looking at collateral, the payment systems. So this is my own responsibility. We need to look at our own financing system differently from the mortgage already that we are using.